Perfect. So, hello, Year 3 parents. My name is Mr. Allen. I am head of Year 3. Hopefully you can all hear me, because you do know with technology it doesn't always work, but fingers crossed. Again, at any point, if your internet, don't worry, we are recording the meeting and you can just email your class teacher if you have any issues and they will send the meeting to you. So yeah, what we're going to do now is we're just going to share our screen. So we have a little run through some information about ourselves. The year is going to look. So we'll just share that with you now, and then I'll carry on talking and explain what you guys will see. Hopefully you can all now see our screen, what we have shared. So just an introduction from ourselves as the Year 3 staff, so you all know who we are. As I said, my name is Mr. Allen. I am the class teacher for 3A and also the head of Year 3. Just a little bit of background from myself, as I mentioned in the weekly newsletter. I have arrived from the UK, London, where I've been teaching for the last 4 years throughout Key Stage 1 and the last have been in Year 3, so fully aware of the expectations of Year 3 and have all the knowledge from myself to hopefully guide your children, not just my own class, but with the help of Miss Gann and Miss Jennifer, to push your children to the expectations that we all know they can achieve. So I'm now just going to pass you to Miss Gann, and she'll explain a little bit about herself.
Yeah, good evening. I have been teaching Year 3 for the past 2 years in GEMS, and I have also taught Year 3 in my previous school for another 2 Year 3. So in total, I have 4 years of experience in teaching Year 3. And I also have teaching Key Stage 2 Year 5 for 1 year and Key Stage 1 Year 2 for another 2 years. Yeah. And I'll pass the host now to Miss Jennifer.
Yeah. Hi, good evening, parents. So I'm Year 3C class teacher. I have 8 years experience teaching, so I have taught throughout Year 1, 2, and currently in Year 3 and Year 4, Year 5, and Year 6. So the previous year in GEMS, I taught Year 4, so I'm well prepared to prepare the kids for Year 4, and I've also taught Year 2, so I know where they are coming from and where they stand and how to bring them further from where they are now. So pass it back to Nick, Mr. Allen, to continue with the slides.
Perfect, thank you. And as you can see, we do have 2 teaching assistants in Year 3, Miss Lim and Miss Shah, and they are very capable, and they've been around, again, end of Key Stage 1 and beginning of Key Stage 2. So they're, again, fully qualified and well equipped for the year ahead. So moving on a little bit more about myself and the role as a year leader or head of year. So again, I'm guaranteeing safeguard and pastoral care for all Year 3 children. So I'll be overlooking all Year 3 classes to make sure we're all safe and that everyone's under our guidance. Again, making sure our learning environment is, that it's an encouraging place to be and it's a fun place to be. I like children to come in. Yes, they have to work hard, but also they are allowed to have fun whilst doing it. Guiding, planning and teaching, that's something I'll talk about a little bit later on in this presentation, because I'm currently rewriting the Year 3 maths curriculum, and I'll why that is as we get to that point. Again, implementing and monitoring assessment in Year 3, part of a teacher's role, about assessing your children to make sure they're where they need to be, but also if they're not, how we can challenge them if they're beyond where they need to be, but also them to help them to where they need to be if they're struggling a little bit. Organising events and trips, as we know with our RMCO, I doubt many trips will be happening, especially in term 1, but hopefully later in the year we will be able to have some nice trips and events with the children, again following their topics. Again, tracking student attendance, hopefully we're all in school because we should be by now. I know there's a few children not because they're still in quarantine. But again, I will be keeping an eye on all the children in Year 3 to make sure that we have one of the highest attendances in the year, which again, we want to aim for because we want everyone to be in learning, having fun and progressing and being ready for that transition to Year 4. And student home learning and homework. And again, this is something I will talk about later, but homework once a week every week on a Friday. Majority of it we're going to be online because, as I've heard and been informed, the school done a fantastic job with online learning during the lockdown. So rather than going backwards to paper, we want to keep that online learning going as much as possible. So for the meantime, once all the logins are sorted out and arranged, homework will start online and children will be able to access that. If you'd like to contact your class teacher, I'm sure the easiest point of call will be an email. Okay, so if any issues or any queries, please email your class teacher. And then if that needs to be passed on to anyone higher, like myself or Mr. Tate, the head of primary, then that will happen in the relevant situation. So we'll move on to the next slide. So again, as mentioned with attendances, hopefully we're in all the time. If not, if you're absent, please make sure that you follow the relevant protocol. So email your class teacher or in the office, giving your child's full name and the class they are in, the date your child is off. It might just be one day, it might be a couple of days, but obviously please make us aware so we can plan accordingly. And again, a reason for your child's absence. As mentioned with contact information, face-to-face is preferred over email because obviously we can deal with it there and then. So if you do have any queries, please talk to your class teacher at the end of the day or arrange a meeting via email, because at the moment, pickup time is a little bit stressful and a little bit hectic, but it is running smoothly at the minute, but trying to talk to parents is a little bit difficult, especially with the social distancing situation going on. So again, if you would like to talk to your teacher, please, I'd say for now, until further notice, please drop an email and then there, so arrange a phone call with your teacher. So yeah, point of call, please email class teachers. I'm just going to pass you to Miss Gan now to talk about the school.
Yeah, for primary school hours, every day from Monday to Friday, we will start our registration at 7:45, and our first lesson will begin at 8 o'clock in the morning. Break time at 9 o'clock for 20 minutes. Later on at 11:20, we'll have lunch for an hour, and end of day will be at 2:50. For CCA, for now, we will not have any CCA until further notice. All right. So these are our year 3 classes timetable in which you should have received earlier from your respective class teacher.
Yeah, so again, going over the year 3 team, we have myself, head of year and 3A class teacher, Miss Gan, 3B class teacher, Miss Jennifer, 3C class teacher, and Mrs. Lim and Mrs. Schwa, who are the year 3 teaching assistants. At the moment, English, Maths, Science, Humanities, Art and ICT will be taught by class teachers. I know some parents may not be aware, but primary school teachers, especially when we come from the UK, we are in all subjects. So primary teachers are qualified to teach Art and ICT. So they will be teaching those 2 extra subjects for the time being. But hopefully that may change later on in the year when we get some more specialists in. Other teachers your children will be interacting with throughout their time in year 3. We have Miss Anne, who will be their music teacher, Mr. Joe for PE, Miss Jenny for French, depending on the class, or for Bahasa they're in. We have Miss
Azura, Miss Hani, Miss Ranu for Bahasa teachers, and for Mandarin we have Mr. Tong, Miss T, Miss Hong, and Rama will be Miss Johnson. Miss Emma will be the primary teacher librarian. So when it comes to language options in year 3, for Malaysian, it's a compulsory for them to take Bahasa, Malay, and Mandarin. And for non-Malaysian students, it is compulsory for them to take Mandarin is a compulsory subject, and optional means either they can choose Bahasa or French. These are our specialists for Mandarin. Mr. Tong, Miss Tan, Miss T, and Miss Cha. For year 3 would be Mr. Tong, Miss T, and Miss Cha, right? For Bahasa teachers, there are Miss Farah, Miss Hani, Miss Azra, and Miss Renu. For Bahasa year 3 teams, there are Miss Hani, Miss Azra, and Miss Renu. Miss Jenny is the French teacher, while Miss Peter is the music teacher.
Okay, so moving on to the school year and the overview. So as you can see, it looks the children will be learning a lot. So if we have a look at our English overview, I've made a slight tweak for the start of the year for the children. So linking to our humanities topic of the Stone Age. We're starting with a nice book called Ugg, the Boy Genius of the Stone Age, which they seem to be enjoying at the moment. And again, you can see the type of learning objective intention they will achieve throughout the year. So as you can see, within our Ugg text, we are making predictions about a character, the text itself, and the setting it's set in. We will be writing a diary entry, so they'll be using first person, personal pronouns, adjectives to be descriptive. They will use inverted commas, or as some people may know them as speech marks. Be writing character description again, so using what they've learned by using adjectives, adverbs to build their description, because year 3 is really a key year where they can start becoming really amazing writers. So you want to get that description in early, and it will allow them to develop that nicely throughout the year. Again, expanding noun phrases, description setting, and with Ugg, it's almost like a comic book style book, the way it's drawn and illustrated. So they will be making their own book strip, which will be amazing. So again, linking to art, so they'll be using their art skills. They'll be looking at another fiction text, again, where they'll be developing the skills they've learned within the first couple of weeks of year 3 by building on character descriptions and studies, understand why writers use paragraphs, which is important. Again, writing short descriptions using their senses, and they'll be moving on to writing an instructional text using imperative verbs, or also known as bossy verbs. So watch out, because some children might turn bossy when we're doing that topic. And then we'll move on to poetry, where they'll be doing humorous poems. So they'll be having lots of fun with that. In term 2, again, using their imagination and their creativity, we'll be looking at myths and legends, where again, they'll be looking at different types of myths and legend texts, and then they'll be writing their own. And then moving on to more formal writing, where they'll be writing. So they'll learn how to plan and write a letter, look at the features that we need to include in writing letters. And then moving on to term 3, adventure stories, again, building further on the description they built on for the first 2 terms. Then looking at non-chronological order texts, again, do in fiction and non-fiction. So again, a bit more creativity, and then a chance for your children to show their skills they've learned throughout the year. And then link into one of our science topics, they'll be doing more poems, but this time relating to the senses, because we do cover the senses within our science lessons. Maths, again, as I mentioned, I am currently rewriting the maths curriculum for year 3. Not that I'm adding anything new, but just having it where I've come from the UK, we do it in a more logical sense and structure. So as you can see at the start of term 1, we look at number and problem solving, where we look at place value, again, recapping on what they should know in year 2 and then developing it further in year 3. And from this one, which it currently is, they then move on into shape. But I feel like it'd benefit the children and their progress if they started using place value, which we're currently doing, and then they move on to addition and subtraction, then they move on to multiplying and dividing in term 1. And then they can continue multiplying and dividing in term 2 to start, and then we move on into fractions and money. And then we will look at the statistics, time, shape, and angles in term 3. So we kind of build up the knowledge of number and place value and the known methods using all those techniques. And then we kind of finish lightly on shape, angles. So we kind of emphasis off the number towards the end of the year. So we kind of pack it all in the first 2 terms. Once I have rewritten that and planned it all out and got confirmation from Mr. Tate that it's all okay, I can email that curriculum overview for maths to the parents of year 3, so you're aware of what your children will be learning. And again, that will probably be hopefully by the end of the week, start of next week. Moving on to science, we have started looking at the life processes. So again, why things are classed as living things and non-living things. So living things have to take and carry out the 7 life processes. And for instance, doing those anymore, they will become non-living because they were once living and they're now no longer. And then things that never live, so things that have never done the same. Then we move on into materials. And then in term 2, we're looking at plants, so life cycles and the way and photosynthesis. Then moving on into forces, so forces and magnets. And as I mentioned earlier, linking our science to our English of poems, we then cover the senses. And then we look at how children and adults can keep healthy. Then in our humanities, we start with our history topic of the Stone Age, going from the Stone Age through to the Iron Age. And then we take a turn and we look at a little bit of geography towards the end of term 1. And in term 2, we continue that theme of the ages. So we've done Stone Age and Iron Age in term 1, and then we go further in time and we look into the Bronze Age. And then we look at weather around the world, so looking at climates and how that affects the world in different parts. And then in term 3, we look at early civilizations and how we can research those, and again, how they have changed over time or necessarily they have adapted to modern day. And again, geography, looking at the local area and settlements over time, how they've changed. So again, we'll be looking at different local areas of Malaysia and how they have adapted and changed over time. And then we will finish about keeping in touch with the world. So recognizing the difference of postal service, telephones, emails, so kind of a bit more link into our computing lessons. Moving on. And with assessment, massive part of a teacher's role. Within primary, teacher assessments take emphasis over exams. Exams are more secondary, but our teacher assessments are obviously in class when our assessments include marking, verbal feedback, one-to-one chats, observations, while lessons are going on. So it's very in class, very in the moment. And then at the start of the term, so from next week, we will start our GL tests, which you should be familiar with, because I know the children do start those in year 2 for English, maths in year 2, but then in year 3, we now do them in English, maths and science. So we will be starting those from next week, and they'll probably last once a week so they will take place for our computing lessons for the next 3 or 4 weeks. And then, yes, we do a GL test at the start of term 1, and then so we get a baseline so we can see where your child is at. And then with our teaching assessments, which we do in class, we can obviously adapt lessons to meet the needs of certain individuals and the whole class. And then at the end of the year in term 3, another GL assessment. So we should hopefully see a nice increase from term 1 to term 3. So we should see a nice trajectory for the children across the year. And you will receive termly reports again, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. Homework. So as I mentioned, once a week on a Friday, and it won't be due. So it will be set on a Friday, and then children will have to have it. Again, so homework will include spellings, timetables, reading, and then obviously online activities. We have just invested in 2 new online homework tools. So one is called My Maths, and another one's called Renaissance Reader. And then there is also Phoenix Classroom as well, which is a whole school thing. So again, once that is all set up and working properly and the children are all assigned logins, they will be able to access those, and we will inform you with the weekly newsletter that type of online homework will start. As mentioned, all children are encouraged to read. So as you can see on the screen, hopefully, year 3, up to 30 minutes a night. Again, it can be independently, but also it'd be good if they do read to an adult, so then they have someone to talk to and discuss the text that they've read to ensure that they're understanding what they're reading, and that they can ask any questions or about words or phrases that they're unsure of. And it's a good way for, again, you as parents to know where your children are at with their reading. Homework is used as a consolidation tool. It's not going to be anything new to the children. It will be focuses on what we have focused on in class for the week. So for instance, if we're looking at column multiplication in maths, then their homework will focus on column multiplication. It won't be on algebra or angles. It will be something they will have done in class that week. So it's to help consolidate their learning. So they should be okay with it. But again, adults at home can sit with them and check over so you guys are aware of how they're doing. But get any issues, email class teachers and we can go through that with you. It's not going to be anything strenuous. It's not going to cause the children any anxiety. It is there just, again, to further develop their learning of what they've done in class. So they shouldn't be feeling anxious or stressed out about it. It's stuff they've done in class and they should be familiar with it. And yet I will pass you to Miss Jennifer, and she's going to go through individual year group info starting on uniform.
Yeah, So I'm just going to go through about the uniforms. So as per mentioned here, so for the girls, they wear school-like checkered skirt and a white polo shirt with a school logo and a gray or black white ankle socks. So I do notice that some of them are wearing very short socks that we can't see. So maybe they should wear something that is more obvious. So, and it should be not colored, it should be black or white only. And for the boys, they should wear school shorts and a white polo shirt. And same goes, it has to be a black or a white socks. And the shoe has to be black. It has to be a black shoe. Yeah. And their nails, sorry, the previous slide, sorry. Yeah, so, and then they should not be wearing any makeup or they should not have any nail polish on, and their fingernails must be kept clean and neat. And also they're not allowed to wear any jewelries, preferably because they're in school and we don't want them to be, running around with, a lot of jewelries with them. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, so I think I have also mentioned for my class 3C parents, mentioned on the apps that is required in iPad. So this for the other parents as well, we can download all these apps so that they will be ready whenever they are needed to be used in class or for their homework purposes, such as Show Me, the QR Reader, the Kahoot, Epic, Padlet, Book Creator. So these will be helpful for their homework, as well as some work done in class. Sometimes we use a QR code to scan their work, and they can actually, if they have it in their iPad, it'll be useful. So, and we'll also be having some additional homework apps, which we will update as soon as we get the approval from the school. So for PE, on 3A has PE on Wednesdays and Fridays, 3B on Monday and Fridays, and 3C on Monday and Thursday. And they are required to wear their PE clothes from home. So they come to school with their PE clothes on, so they don't have to come to school and change. Yeah. Next slide. Yeah. So stationery, as now that we have the SOP and we are not really encouraged to share our stationery, it's best if each child can bring their own stationery, such as their own personal ruler, pencils, a pack of color pencil or colored marker, eraser, sharpener, glue stick, and also scissors, which will be helpful for them to do activities in the class and so that they have their own stationery to avoid sharing. As for now, many of them are still using the class stationery, and each time they use it, we will sanitize it before we give it to another student or use it on the next day. So if they have their own personal one, that will be best to, especially during this COVID and this SOP that is implemented. And library for 3A is on Wednesday, 3B also on Wednesday, and 3C is on Tuesday. On this day, they are allowed to borrow book, and the book, as for now, this librarian said one book, but sooner in time, they can borrow 2 books at one go, and they are required to return it 1 week later. And if they would like to extend the borrowing, then they can extend, they have to bring it back and extend the date for their borrowing. So, but otherwise, they have to return it in 1 week's time. Yeah.
Okay, so just some relatively simple information about preparing your child for their school day. Obviously, we know they haven't been in school for a very long time due to the MCO, but just again, aid them and make it as a nice smooth transition back into class. So just some useful information for them to come back into class. So ensure they have water bottle, and they obviously, if they drink that in the day, they have COVID equipment, so such things as hand sanitizers, face masks, and if you want your child to wear a shield, that's absolutely fine, they can. And throughout the day, we do regularly get the children to go wash their hands, especially before they eat and before and after lunch. So we are making sure that they are very aware of personal hygiene, which is very important during this difficult time. Labeling personal items, so pencil cases, obviously their name goes on their book anyway, so that's done. But yeah, jumpers, polo tops, and any other stationery items that can possibly have a label on, just so there's no disappearance of stationery and that know who's because obviously there is no sharing at the moment, so it should be pretty simple at the moment. Ensuring that they're getting adequate night's sleep. So obviously everyone needs at least 8 hours of sleep a night, so children should be going to bed nice and early to make sure they are ready to go the next school day, because we don't want their learning being impacted by them falling asleep in class. Ensuring they have healthy snacks and lunches. Obviously some are provided by the canteen, so that's not a problem, but if your child does bring in their own snack and lunch, please ensure it is healthy, so it has a piece of fruit in there, and not just full of cakes and chocolate bars, as much as we know children do like those, including myself. Make sure they have a nice full breakfast as well, so maybe a bowl of porridge and a banana before they come in, just to make sure that they are ready to go. And with drop-off time, I know you guys know what you're doing because children are coming in on time, and also collection time, still a bit manic, but you guys have been fantastic, so we'd just like to thank you for that, because it makes our jobs a lot easier during that stressful process. Again, just this is one of the questions I've had emailed from a few parents about, asking if their children's workbooks can go home so they can see their work, what they've been doing in class. Due to the RMCO, at the moment, books will not be going home, just to try limit the back and forth between home and school with stationery, and the transmission of germs. We want to try to keep that as low as possible, and so we feel at the moment going home will not be a wise decision. So until the RMCO has kind of disappeared, and we get the go ahead, that the normal sort of routine of the school day can resume, then books will not be going home. And we have also informed the children that they can leave their stationery in their trays in class, again to limit the transition of germs and the back and forth between stuff going home and coming to school. Obviously, if there is any concern regarding your child's learning, then your child's class teacher will be in contact with you, either via a phone call or an email, and obviously you can arrange a time to discuss that further. So don't panic too much that books can't go home, because I do know parents like books to go home and to have a look and see what your children are doing and if there's any areas they can work on. And again, extending from that, as I mentioned, class teachers will make you aware if there is an area of concern, but also that is another reason, like I said, homework is a consolidation tool. So again, to further recap what the week's learning has happened in class. So hopefully there shouldn't be too much of a panic with that at the moment. But as soon as we get the go ahead that the RCMO has disappeared and life can return to the normal that we used to know, then I'm sure books will be going home at parents' requests. But as mentioned, for now, it won't be happening until further notice. That is all from the Year 3 team. We aren't going to open to questions because obviously our Zoom is set for a 40-minute. Please, if there's anything you're unsure of or that you feel like we haven't covered, please either email your, I'd say first instance, go to your class teacher, and if there's anything they can't answer, hopefully you are happy and looking forward to your child's learning this year in the Year 3 team, because I know us teachers are. But as I've mentioned, that any questions or queries, email your class teacher and we will answer them. Or if you would like the recording sent, again, not a problem, we can arrange that for you. Okay, so from the Year 3 team, thank you very much for attending, and hopefully we'll all be able to attend a meeting and interact more face-to-face in the near future. So have a lovely evening, take care.